Andreea Calude has experience of trying to function in a deeply paranoid environment. One governed by a dictatorial leader, much given to purges and propaganda, who surrounds himself with old cronies and yes-men. A senior lecturer in linguistics at the University of Waikato. Andreea also grew up in communist Romania. Her first exposure to the English language came via the Beatles' single Love Me Do, technically forbidden in Ceausescu's paradise, and she also displayed early proficiency in humming. Her PhD and consequential TED talk on grammar rate as professional high points, shaded only by the personal achievement of mothering 2 children under 5. Left-handed, she both runs and dances salsa and believes Hamilton to be a nice, friendly town. Please ovate for Dr. Andreea Calude.
I'm going to roll with it, but that's not what it should look like. So as you heard in that really lovely introduction, I'm a linguist. And as an academic linguist, when I meet somebody, not another academic, but normal people like yourselves, you might be surprised to learn that the first question that people ask me is, so how many languages do you speak and where do you come from? And linguists tend to think that speaking lots of languages is not actually part of our job, so we kind of don't like the question. We tend to cower when we hear and go, oh God, not that again. But today I'm going to embrace it and tell you all about how many languages I actually speak for real life, as my 5-year-old daughter would say. So I was born in Romania, and Romanians speak Romanian, which is a lot like Latin, which is a lot like Italian. But my parents actually taught me French, so technically my first language is French, partly because they didn't want me to be interrogated by the security people, Securitate, Ceausescu's security people. But also partly because French was really posh. So in a classless society, we were trying to be quite posh. And by the time I went to school, when I was 7, I went to school number 49, which is way better than school number 48. And school number 49, I had to speak Romanian, so I kind of forgot my French pretty much and just switched completely to Romanian. And kids are good like that. They can just focus on what's important. And that would have been pretty much that, except this happened in December of 89. And the revolution that hit much of Eastern Europe completely changed my life. Even though I was only about 10 years old at the time, I had no idea, but very different things were going to happen. My family decided within a few years to immigrate. And even though I was thinking, yay, I might get to speak more French again, because I'd been learning French at school, and I always had a special connection to the language, my parents immigrated to Canada, which would have been all right, except they chose English Canada. And English was not okay, because even though I learned a bit of English at school, I didn't learn very useful English. I learned things like, I come from a good communist country with a coal economy, and I couldn't really even ask for the toilet or how much maple syrup cost. So it wasn't very good in Canada, but I still got to speak a bit of French at school, and that was pretty neat. I learned English, and that was all right in the end, and soon enough my parents decided to immigrate again, and this time to New Zealand, and that was all right, because in New Zealand we kind of spoke English, mostly English. You just had to get rid of half of your vowels and then you'd be fine. So I didn't have to relearn a whole new language. I was the first Romanian to go to Selwyn College in Auckland, and that was awesome because I could say anything I liked about Romania and people couldn't question it at all. So whenever people asked me, where are you from, I'd tell them all the stories I wanted to tell them. I still spoke Romanian at home with my parents, but I learned a great deal of English. And by then, English had become a very much dominant language for me. I also learned German. You might be surprised to know, but I really loved German. Everyone was surprised. And I loved German so much that I decided to move to Germany. So when I was 17, I did an exchange for a year And I lived with a lovely German family in the town of Solingen, where I went to Humboldt Gymnasium and got to speak German all day long. And Germany's great because Germany embraced me as a Kiwi. So, they'd never seen many Kiwis before, so I could say anything I liked about New Zealand. So that was awesome. And even though I didn't get to speak much Romanian in Germany, I still kept my English alive. And I learned a bit of Italian because my family, like all good German people, they travel to Italy on holiday for 3 months a year. So when I came back eventually to New Zealand again, I went to study at Auckland University, and I studied German and a bit of Italian and a bit of Māori, and I still kept my Romanian going, but only at home. So Romanian became not so much a dominant language anymore, and English took over, as English does. And after my PhD in linguistics, I scored my first job, this time in Reading, the UK, which was kind of English again, except just reload all the vowels again. So pretty easy, I could manage that. Except in England, it wasn't so fun because English people had seen New Zealanders before, so I couldn't make up anything I wanted about New Zealand. But I had my own fun. I met my husband there, and I imported him and all his vowels all the way back to New Zealand. So now I live in Hamilton with my family, my 2 kids and my husband, and still close enough to my parents that I can still speak Romanian with them, but it's very much a home language. Don't ever interview me about linguistics in Romanian. Bad idea. I've done it once, and it's just terrible. And I try to speak Romanian to my kids. You'll see in the picture, I'm the one on the right. You'll recognize my hair with my 2 little kids. But they still know that English is the dominant language for them, so I don't get to speak as much Romanian as I'd like. But we still occasionally try a bit of German. So, figuring out how many languages you speak is really hard. It's not a binary thing that you can switch on and off. And most people in their real life speak bits of languages. It's only bits of languages and not the whole thing. That's why many of us struggle to fill in the census and to answer the question, in what languages can you have a conversation about everyday things? With who and on which day? Speaking a language, no matter how little or how much you speak it, is important, and it's worthwhile because that language connects you to people and to places that matter to you. Thank you.